what's up? Hello, my name is Emma, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about some 2017 YA mental health releases. So yeah, we're almost like 4 months late on this video, but I didn't think about it until the end of February, so we're just gonna excuse the time. I figured just because it wasn't posted at the beginning of the year does not mean that you don't want to read some 2017 releases, so might as well post it now. Moving on. So I have spent the last 2 months looking everywhere I could possibly find for 2017 YA releases that have to do with a mental health theme. For some reason, a lot of these were very hard to find, and I'm very thankful to all of you on Twitter and Goodreads who gave me some recommendations to include in this video. I have about 25 or so books on this list, so it's not totally comprehensive. I promise you there are more books about mental health and mental illness coming out later this year. I just felt that a lot of these fit very well, and they had a lot of themes that I wanted to incorporate into this video, so there's tons more out there. So because I have so many books on this list, I'm not going to be giving you a full synopsis for every single book. I've highlighted some aspects that I picked out of the synopsis and of various reviews that I feel are very relevant to this video that I feel would pique your interest. So if you want to find out more about a specific book, all the Goodreads links are below. And I also want those little terms and kind of aspects that I pull out and discuss in this video to act as trigger warnings for each individual book. Because we are discussing sensitive subject matter, if I say a book deals with suicide or self-harm or depression, and you feel that those topics might be triggering to you, use that as your trigger warning. Proceed with caution if you want to read it. So without further ado, here are some mental health books for 2017 that I am super excited for. On January 3rd, we were blessed with a book that is Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Gornall. This book deals with anxiety, agoraphobia, and OCD, and it is also an own voices novel, meaning the author herself has also suffered from anxiety, agoraphobia, and OCD, or some combination of those. I also just want to put a trigger warning for self-harm on this book, as it's not explicitly stated in the synopsis, but it essentially follows this teenage girl who is dealing with all of these different mental illnesses, and they kind of render her unable to go outside. A new boy moves in next door that becomes interested in our main character. He wants to be friends with her, but she believes that he deserves somebody that is more capable than her, or like a normal girl, emphasis on air quotes. So it's all about our main character trying to become a better person for herself and complete all these goals that she has in the face of all of this adversity. Second book on this list came out January 10th, and that is A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. One of our main characters has ADHD and the other has dyslexia, and in addition to dyslexia, I believe they deal with anxiety. Another additional trigger warning, this book does deal with child abuse. So quite a few years before this book takes place, our two main characters were foster brothers, where the one with dyslexia and anxiety had lived with the other who has ADHD. The foster child was then removed from their household. As our older main character is graduating, the younger one is a freshman at the same exact school, so they start to rekindle this old friendship that they had, and it's a really powerful novel and I highly recommend it. I don't know if this release date is correct, but on January 12th, A Quiet Kind of Thunder by Sara Banard was released. This book follows a main character who is a selective mute that deals with anxiety, and we have a deaf love interest. Our main character has been a selective mute for most of her life, and through the use of sign language, she's able to communicate with this deaf boy, and they form a friendship and I believe a romance from that as well. I will say I've had some trouble finding an actual copy of this book. I don't think it's available on Book Depository, but I do know a couple of people that have it, so if you found this book, please let me know where you got it in the description because I really want to read it. Also not entirely sure if this release date is correct, but on January 16th, we received The Impossible Boy by Anna Martin. This book follows a gender-fluid main character with an eating disorder, and it also revolves around a relationship between two men, so it is an LGBTQIA+ novel. So our gender fluid main character's boyfriend is a rock star who goes on tour with his band, and that kind of triggers our main character's past experiences with anorexia. And so it's all about these two boys kind of finding a balance between their own problems, their own dreams and aspirations, and their relationship. This is another one where I'm having trouble finding an actual copy for it, but it's another one that sounds super interesting. On January 17th, History's All You Left Me by Adam Silvera was released. This is another Own Voices novel for LGBT rep as well as obsessive compulsive disorder. It also features a few LGBT relationships between boys, and it also deals with grief, which I feel is definitely a relevant topic when talking about mental health. Our main character has recently lost the past love of his life, and so the deceased's most recent boyfriend comes to the funeral, and these two boys develop an unlikely friendship in their grief, as they're the only two people that know what they're going through. Our main character also deals with OCD, and although it's not the main focus of the novel, it's really prominent, and it was a fantastic book. Also, read this one too. Moving on to February. On February 7th, A Tragic Kind of Wonderful by Lindstrom was released. This book follows a main character with bipolar disorder, as well as a few of her family members also have the same condition. Also, the use of medication in treating mental illness is a prominent theme in this book, which I think is really important. A Tragic Kind of Wonderful follows a main character with bipolar disorder, but only her family is aware of her condition. Her friends don't know about it, which has led to a lot of trouble over the years. That's all I really want to say about this book, because I feel like to fully get the message and all of the importance out of this story, you really just need to read it and dive into it, which I would highly, highly recommend. Additionally, on February 7th, The Sky Between You and Me by Alene also hit shelves. This book deals with eating disorders from the perspective of an athlete who is a jockey. In my clinical counseling class last year, I actually wrote an essay on athletes with eating disorders, which for some reason, they don't talk about much in YA books, so I was really excited to find out about this novel. So our main character is a jockey, she rides horses, and she develops an eating disorder while trying to become a better athlete, and as a result of this, she just might lose everything, including herself. Really, really excited for this novel. Optimists Die First by Susin Neilson came out on February 21st. From what I can grasp, this book follows a main character with anxiety who deals with intrusive and paranoid thoughts. Also, I believe there is a disabled love interest, and it deals with art therapy, which also creative arts therapy is something I'm hoping to go into, so like that made me really, really happy. So after a family tragedy, our main character is sent to art therapy, and while she doesn't really want to be there and thinks it's kind of lame, she is assigned this year-long project with a boy with a prosthetic arm. Oh man, I gotta stop saying I'm so excited, because I'm excited for every novel on here that I haven't read yet. On February 28th, Sad Perfect by Stephanie Elliot was released. If you're new here, I'm not showing the cover on my channel as it can be triggering to self-harm survivors, so there's that, but if you go to the Goodreads link, you will see the cover just as a warning. This book follows a main character with ARFID, which is Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. It's another denomination of an eating disorder that's not often talked about. Our main character also deals with depression and anxiety and takes medication as a result of that. And like I mentioned with the cover, there are some self-harm aspects of this book that I would like you to be wary of. So Sad Perfect follows this main character with ARFID, who recently meets a boy. She gets a new boyfriend, and in the fluttering puppy love stages of a new relationship, she feels so happy and so good that she thinks that she's cured, and she stops taking her medication, and so the rest of the novel is really all of the problems that come from making such a crucial and bad decision. To be truthful, I was considering not including Sad Perfect in this list, as I will link below. There is a review where another person who suffers from a different eating disorder was very harmed by this book, and a lot of people have expressed their feelings on this book as they don't think it is a proper portrayal of eating disorders, and they have a lot of issues with it that I think are very important. So if this is a book you're considering picking up, I would highly, highly recommend checking out that review in the description of this video, because I just think it's important that when dealing with all of these different topics that are sensitive and with representation that's going to be different for everyone, it's important that we observe the opinions of others to make sure that this is something that we ourselves are going to be comfortable reading. So just putting that big disclaimer there too. On February 28th, we also got 10 Things I Can See From Here by Carrie Mack. This book follows a main character with anxiety, and it is also an LGBTQIA+ novel, as it features a relationship between two girls. And if I'm correct, there's also a father figure in the story who is dealing with an addiction. In 10 Things I Can See From Here, our main character's mom leaves for 6 months, and our main character is forced to live with her father, who is struggling with his sobriety. And in addition to that, she's dealing with her own anxiety, and I have heard so much praise for this novel. I'm really pumped to read it. On March 14th, we got this beautiful little book called Queens of Geek by Jen Wilde. If you have not heard about this book yet, I guarantee you're gonna want to read it. We follow two main characters. One of them is autistic and deals with anxiety. It is another LGBTQIA+ novel that features another relationship between two girls, and it also has a geeky convention setting. What more could you want? I believe this book has two storylines. The first is a main character who is kind of famous, and she goes to this event to kind of like prove her standing at the moment after a breakup, but she meets one person that is from her past that she previously had a crush on, which is another girl, and I believe that that crush is now returned. And our second main character is the autistic individual who is dealing with anxiety as she is trying to kind of step out of her comfort zone and enter a contest at this convention, and like, my God, do I want to read this book immediately. I'm so excited, and I've heard rave reviews. On April 4th, we have coming out Definitions of Indefinable Things by Whitney Taylor. This is actually my current read, and I'm really enjoying it, so I hope it just stands true for the rest of the novel. I recently found out that this is an Own Voices novel that deals with depression. Two of our main characters are actually both on antidepressants for their depression, and we do have another character who is a teenager that is pregnant. And one of the main characters has two moms. So this book follows two depressed teenagers that meet and and they kind of bond over the fact that they're both depressed and they kind of understand what they're going through. But through this experience, our main character finds out that the boy she's been hanging out with is actually having a baby with one of her classmates. So far, it's kind of a humorous take on depression, but still very authentic in my opinion. I'm really enjoying it, so I'll definitely let you know when I review this one. And so on April 11th, I am so honored to share my birthday with The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. This book follows a main character with anxiety who is currently taking medication as a result of that. There's also a heavy influence of LGBT individuals in this book, as our main character's twin sister is, I don't want to say she's a lesbian, she likes girls, and she has two moms. So essentially our main character's sister gets a new girlfriend, and with this new girlfriend comes a new boy that our main character might be interested in, but as she starts a new job, she finds a boy that she doesn't think she could really be attracted to, but she might be. I would say that anxiety is probably not the main focus. Like, I wouldn't say that this is like as heavy as a mental health novel as a couple of others of these, but I do feel like anxiety still comes across in a very authentic, realistic way that I think a lot of people could identify with. If you've read Fangirl, it's kind of like that portrayal of anxiety is what I would compare it to. Very enjoyable read, and I would highly recommend it. May is always a big month for releases. On May 2nd, we get 4 Weeks, 5 People by Jennifer Wu. Another Own Voices mental health novel, which just makes me so happy. But it follows main characters that deal with eating disorders and OCD. I feel like there might be a few other mental health issues that are incorporated into this novel through other characters, but I'm not entirely sure, so I'm not gonna put that claim on there. Essentially, this book follows 5 different people over the course of 4 weeks that form unlikely bonds to each other. It sounds so good. On May 2nd, we also get Cold Summer by Gwen Cole. While the rest of these so far have been contemporary novels, this is actually a sci-fi/historical fiction novel with a mental health theme. In Cold Summer, our main character has an uncontrollable ability to time travel. So at like the flip of a switch, he could be in the modern times, or else he could be in like World War II, for example, fighting as a soldier. So it is all about our protagonist who is dealing with PTSD from that experience, but also in the modern times. And when he meets a girl and he's trying to get settled down in life, she finds a newspaper clipping from years ago with him listed as the deceased. There are not enough non-contemporary mental health novels, so like that alone makes me excited, but I'm really interested to see where this story goes. On May 17th, Girl Against the Universe by Paula Stokes is going to be released. So this book follows a main character with anxiety that comes along with PTSD and other compulsions. So our main character believes that she brings bad luck upon everyone she kind of comes in contact with and everyone she loves. So she sets herself away in her room, determined to not bring any more bad luck onto her loved ones, but she meets a tennis player that makes her decide that she wants to break away from all of these fears that she has previously harbored. And on May 30th, one of my personal favorite mental health authors is going to be releasing a book called Eliza and Her Monsters. This wasn't clear to me in the synopsis, but in reading reviews, it says it deals with a main character with anxiety, which is very exciting. So our main character is actually a pretty successful webcomic writer, although her identity is kept a secret online. And so she meets someone who writes fan fiction of her webcomics. And while that boy believes that like she just might be another fan, her identity accidentally gets revealed and like the secret's out. It seems as if, again, mental health is not the primary focus of this novel, but then again, that's kind of how our lives work sometimes. And I do feel like it's another one that's kind of similar to Fangirl, especially with this whole like nerdy content going on. Moving on to June. On June 6th, we get this book called What I Lost by Alexandra Ballard. This book deals with primarily eating disorders. We have a main character with anorexia, as well as the main character's mother has some body image issues as her own. And it also begins in an inpatient facility. So our main character is currently in inpatient treatment for their anorexia, but they decided that like as soon as they get to leave here, they're just gonna go right back into their old behaviors and continue wasting away and not really trying to get help for their eating disorder. But her plans are interrupted when somebody starts sending her anonymous, mysterious packages that have some sort of influence on her. So I'm really excited to find out what they are. Also on June 6th, Everything All at Once by Katrina Leto is coming out. This one is another one that deals with anxiety and grief, and I'm really excited we have so many anxiety novels coming out in 2017 because so many people have previously asked me for recommendations, so just take all the anxiety books. So our main character has an aunt who is a famous author that dies. And so her aunt leaves her this final project full of like secrets from her writings past, and it really encourages the main characters to step out of her own comfort zone with her own writing. So I'm hoping that writing is going to be used as a coping strategy in this book, and it sounds like it's going to be a really helpful read. On July 4th, a book titled Words on Bathroom Walls is being released by Julia Walton. Walton. This book follows a main character with schizophrenia who is dealing with auditory and visual hallucinations. I'm excited for two reasons already. One, because we have a male main character who is suffering from a mental illness, and two, because we have another author who is focusing on visual hallucinations, which is a very, very important theme to me personally. So our main character has recently been diagnosed with, I believe, early onset schizophrenia, and so they start drug treatment in order to kind of help with these hallucinations of people he sees that are not really there. So our main character ends up transferring school. He meets a girl that he really likes, but he tends to hide his illness from her as he's afraid that she will view him differently. And so just as things seem to be working out for him, his medication starts to fail and he deals with the effects of that. I'm literally so excited for this novel. I cannot even express it to you. On July 11th, we are getting another eating disorder book titled The Art of Starving by Sam J. Miller. I'm gonna end up talking about this one for a while, so I'm sorry, but this is an Own Voices novel for LGBT rep because it follows a gay main character as well as its own voices for eating disorders. So first of all, male with anorexia, very positive thing for me to see in YA literature. Secondly, Own Voices mental health novels always make me really excited. So in The Art of Starving, we have a main character who does not eat and believes that he gets powers from starving himself. Bear with me for a second. He believes that he can read minds and see the universe, and he wants to use these powers to kind of stand up to the bullies in his school. So initially I was very nervous about this novel, as the idea of portraying people with eating disorders as having superpowers kind of is glorification, and it's not exactly the most positive thing we want to see when talking about mental illness. So I made my initial concerns known on Goodreads that I was debating if I wanted to read it or not because it seemed like it could be kind of harmful from the synopsis. So the author contacted me extremely quickly. He was very respectful in his reply and told me that as its own voices, it is based off of his own personal experiences, and he knows the synopsis sounds bad, but it was written to convey how his eating disorder made him feel powerful. As someone who has dealt with anorexia, I get what he's saying. I know what he means when he says his eating disorder made him feel powerful. So after speaking with the author, I went from being on the fence about reading it because I wasn't sure how it was going to come across to saying, I'll read it, if anything, just to see what the portrayal is like and if it's going to eventually be as positive as I really, really hope that it can be. But I do want to make my still present concerns about this book very clear to you guys at face value, just because I want you guys to be aware of it if this is something that seems triggering to you as well, as all of these books are going to go. Moving on, August 1st, All New Things by Lauren Miller comes out. This book deals with a main character who suffers from panic attacks and visual hallucinations. Her main character was involved in a really tragic car accident that left her with scars all over her body, a brain injury, and as a result, she has these panic attacks. So after this extremely traumatic experience, she begins seeing bruises and scars on people that she loves that aren't really there. That's all I really know about the synopsis, but it's definitely something I'm really interested in reading. On September 5th, we get one of my most anticipated reads of the year, which is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Adam's actually a friend of mine, and so I knew that this book was coming out, and I knew that he wrote about mental health in his previous book, so I asked him if there were any aspects that he wanted to tell me so I could include it in this video, and he disclosed that one of our main characters deals with severe anxiety. Also, just want to say that this is an Own Voices novel for the LGBT aspect of it because it does deal with a relationship between two boys. They Both Die at the End is set in a near futuristic world where everyone is notified of the day they're going to die the day before by a phone call. So society has adapted to this new innovation that they have, and they've created this thing called the Last Friend app where people on their end day can interact with other people on their end days and, have adventures or have their final experiences and whatnot. So it's about two boys that meet on the Last Friend app that are set out to have this last adventure, but one of our main characters deals with anxiety that has previously prevented him from leaving the house and does prevent him forward in this story. I'm really, really excited for this novel. Please pick it up. I'm super pumped. September 19th, we have a book coming out called Madness by Zach Brewer. So this book deals with a suicidal main character and inpatient treatment. So our main character is a girl who has spent 6 weeks in an inpatient facility for her suicidal attempt, and she is set on the fact that as soon as she leaves, she is going to actually end her own life. She meets a boy who understands what she is going through as they've had similar experiences, and from there they form a relationship on this common ground. And throughout this relationship, while our main character seems to be getting better and really improving, her love interest might actually be getting worse. To me, this personally sounds really similar to All the Right Places by Jennifer Niven, which is another book about depression that I know a lot of people are a fan of. And I don't want to put the label of Own Voices on this book because it's not been fully disclosed and it's not my place to say that. I will say Zach has his own YouTube channel where he discussed madness when doing a cover reveal, and he talked about how he put a lot of his own personal experiences into this novel, and so I'll leave that video below if you want to hear the author talk about his work, but I'm really, really excited for it. I love Zach Brewer so much, and it seems like a book I'm really going to enjoy. Moving on to November releases, on November 7th, we are going to be getting a book called Cat and Meg Conquer the World by Anna Primazza. That's going to be hitting shelves. This book follows a main character with anxiety and a main character with ADHD, and it's about girl friendship. For some reason, in a lot of books about teenagers, we just don't get books focused on friendship, and I don't know why. I actually spoke with the author a few months back, and she disclosed that she doesn't really consider this a mental illness novel, but it is still a prominent aspect of the book, so I felt it was really important to include. So our two main characters are pushed together as they are both going to be working on the same science project all throughout the year, and these two girls find a bond over a video gaming streamer, which we often get on YouTube, so they kind of like fangirl over this YouTube star and form a friendship from there. I love the fact that there are so many books about anxiety that deal with like these nerdy topics that I feel are really relevant to a lot of us, so this is another one I'm really excited for. So we have approached the final book on this list that comes out in December, and I really wish I had more on this list to share with you guys, but of course, if you know of any more mental health releases that weren't discussed in this video that are coming out this year that you would like me to know about, or you would like other people to know about, or you just want to share, please let me know in the comments of this video. But on December 26th, a book called The Love Letters of Abelard and Lily by Laura Cradle is coming out. So this book follows another two protagonists. One has ADHD and the other has Asperger's. So these two neurodiverse characters meet in detention and they bond over a shared interest in ancient love letters, and that's really all I know about it. Alrighty, so that is it for my current list of 2017 mental health releases. I am so excited for so many books on this list. I'm so happy that I've already read so many of them and I have so many more to read. It's just so exciting. Again, please let me know if you have any other mental health fiction that's coming out this year that you would like me to know about, because you know I am always down to read more books like this. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!